Hi, I'm Dan, and welcome back to the Rock Nerd Radio Show here on YouTube. In today's review, we're going to take a quick look at the first of the primes, the first Matrix bearer. It is Prima Prime.
Come geek out with us on the Rock Nerd Radio Show.
So we're going to get the vehicle mode out of the way first, and just to say it, this is a boring vehicle mode to me. There's very little with this vehicle mode that makes this figure pop. There's a lot of grays, there's a lot of those light grays, and there's a couple hits of this translucent blue as you see it spinning around you. I look at this vehicle, and to me it looks like an unpainted Ironhide. It doesn't really pop to me. I'm not trying to fault the designers on it. It's just not the most exciting looking vehicle. I'm going to take it off the turntable and bring it a little closer. There are some kind of sculpted details in the windshield there. And the translucent blue is really the only thing popping, as well as the blue on the headlights. But otherwise, you just have these shades of gray and gray. And yeah, there's nothing really about it that makes me say, wow, what an exciting looking vehicle. It just, it's just here. I feel like we've gotten better Cybertronian vans, SUVs, with characters like Ironhide and Ratchet. It's, I don't know, the first Prime it's the first vehicle mode, I guess. It's just, Prima's alt mode is boring to me. And there's really nothing about it that makes me really say, wow. Just to point it out, since we're looking at it, there are wheels on it, and the wheels in the back, as well as the wheels on the front, do rotate. I feel like the clearance isn't really a lot, because you can see Prima's head right there, and you can rotate the head around, but then it doesn't pop up. So it actually does need to sit like this so that you can kind of angle it up. But I feel like the clearance is not really there, and you risk rubbing the paint off Prima's face if you roll this around too much. So the only other bit of information here that I want to share, that I think I should share, is that you can take your sword weapon and you can port it onto anywhere where there is a port on the figure. So, you can have the sword kind of aiming on the back. There's nothing on top of the figure, so you can't store it on the top. It's really this port, or the one I have it plugged into, or this one here on what will eventually become the shoulders. But with that, let's transform him into his robot mode so we can see the first Prime in its robot mode. So here's Prima in his robot mode, and just to bring him in a little closer to the camera, you can see this head sculpt, which I rather do like. Apparently, as people have pointed out, this is reminiscent to how Prima looked in the original G1 cartoon, just in a different colorway. I guess in the cartoon it was blue and orange, where this is, your silvers, your grays, and the blue eyes. Because I haven't said it before, this is a Voyager class figure, so it's going to run you about $30 to $35, depending on where you get it. But looking at the figure, it still has these dark grays, these light grays, and some hits of blue, namely in the chest, in the eyes, and then in the knees. There are these nice little blue patches. So that kind of breaks up the look of the figure. You do have the dark grays and the light grays playing off each other and making the figure look relatively nice. Of course, there is robotic detail on things like the arms and stuff. Spinning the figure around, you just kind of see what was the top of the robot vehicle as the backpack. The wheels have now sunken into the wells in the legs. And there's not a ton to say about it. It does have one surprise that I haven't spoken about yet. You can see that the chest piece here looks like it is cut out, and you can open this up to reveal the Matrix, Prima being the first Matrix bearer. So if you want to have the Matrix stored inside of Prima's chest, you can. You can also pop it out for use with the sword that I will show off in a little bit. But looking at the Matrix, bringing it in a little closer, I do believe this is similar to all the matrices we've been getting lately. There is that port in the back as well, so it can tab into things, or you could store something like a blast effect coming out of it, having an effect like that. But anyway, let's look at the figure's articulation real quick. Now, the head is on a ball joint, so you can get a lot of movement to it, left and right, and like way back, because of the way that the head is cut back there, so that you can tell there's a big joint there. Also, at the body, we do have twist at the waist, so that is there. Always good to have that. And the nice thing is you can see these two, flaps here. They kind of move with it. They don't really impede movement. They kind of pop up, and you can always pop them back down if you want to. We'll move down to the legs, and we do have not full thigh rotation, but a decent amount. It's because the plastic piece, you can kind of see it there, is going to hit into the joint eventually. But Prima can kick forward that much and back just until it hits the backpack that much. At the knee, we do have pretty deep bend, and if you move the wheels out of the way, you can get even deeper bend, because for transformation, it completely folds in on itself. And then last bit will be at the foot. We do have forward and back, as well as ankle tilt, which is always good to see. At the arms are a little interesting, because there are these big grayish shoulder pieces, and they kind of get in the way of movement. They will kind of stop you. So you might have to move these around a little bit in order to pose the figure. Like, I kind of keep them flared out a little bit, because it does allow me to move the arm around, and it will, kind of move with the figure as well, which is good. You can keep them as down as you want, but it might kind of, first off, they're going to move the second you start moving the figure. The other thing, too, that I notice is that the backpack on mine, I don't know if it's a QC issue on just mine, but the backpack part tends to pop out, which will then allow the arms to kind of move a little more freely because of the way they transform. So just watch out for that. If you're moving it and posing it, you may want to just kind of keep your hand on the back. But now, moving on down to the forearm, we do have full rotation at the forearm. That's on both arms. And only single joint bend on the elbow, but you're going to get a little more than 90 degrees there, just to show you with this one. So it's a little more than 90 degrees, but it does have nice bend. The elbow part, or I'm sorry, the elbow part, like, because this is like a wrist gauntlet almost, goes further past the elbow, as you can see. But it doesn't really break up the look of the figure that much. It doesn't look all that bad. And then in terms of the hands, we do have hands that will rotate all the way around. And also these fingers will open because Prima can grab his sword. And there's a little bit of a, because of transformation, like left and right on this wrist as well. So pretty decently articulated for a robot. It comes with, Prima comes with the following accessories. Of course, it has the Prima sword, which can break into two pieces. So you can have this as one part. You could stick this in vehicle mode in the front like a battering ram. And then this piece, which is, the hilt of the sword, they combine together just like that. As you can see, the peg here that I use to peg it into vehicle mode as well. On this side, you can see there is a peg and these two notches. Well, that is where the matrix goes. So you can just make sure you're putting the matrix in correctly, peg it in, and boom, now you have a blade that looks like it's being powered by the matrix. I do like that. Holds it relatively easily enough. You don't even have to open the fingers if you don't want to, but they are there to keep it nice and secure. I think my biggest problem with the way Prima holds the sword is that there's no up or down on the hand. I'd kind of like it if Prima could point the sword at the wrist. Instead, if you want it to look like Prima's holding the sword, aloof or up in the air, you're going to get something like this. Let me just move up the camera real quick so you can see it a little better. There you go. You'll end up getting something like this, which looks halfway decent, and because of the neck joint, you can make Prima look like he is looking up at the sword. But I would have liked it if I could have gotten the arm to be straight up and, you know, pointing up all the way because of the wrist. I have seen people kind of taking apart the transformation a little bit. There we go. Like that. And then angling the hand up to achieve that effect. But it does make the hand look kind of strange. You know, I don't even know if I would have a good angle to have that in so it looks like natural. So I'm not going to be doing that because I think that looks a little weird. But you know, it's okay. It's not my favorite. The fact that it's missing a really what I think could have been great piece of articulation. And the arms really, I think that's my only other problem, the way these shoulder pads work. I mean, they're easy enough to move out of the way, but if you have them too close, you know, that's like, I can't move this now without possibly popping something. So, you know, it's okay. So my final thoughts on Prima is that he's okay. If you're buying all 13 primes, yeah, you're going to want Prima, but he's okay. You know, they announced the 13 primes and it's become such a part of the lore that I kind of said like immediately, okay, I'm buying all 13. I know I'm going to do it. This being the first one I've gotten, I have to say I'm a little underwhelmed. I think the colors on this are kind of boring and I don't love the posability. Now, people have already been speculating that we could get another Prima, maybe in that G1 cartoon color in that flashback scene that he appeared in, where he's in the orange and blues. And I'll tell you that if that comes out to be true, I would totally upgrade from this one to a more colorful version. I understand that maybe the 13 primes, you know, being these like almost godlike beings, maybe they don't need to be as like colorful as some other things. I would like them to be. So I'm really hoping and keeping my fingers crossed that if they decide to make some of these primes more colorful, that someone like Prima gets another pass, another treatment. I don't love the fact that I might be rebuying a figure I already own, but I think a nice bright colorway on Prima could really benefit. So let me know if you've custom painted one, if you've digibashed one to be maybe some brighter colors. I would love to see what you do with it. With all that said, remember, you can check out the Rock Nerd Radio Show podcast on all your preferred podcast platforms. That is a weekly podcast hosted by me and my good friend and co-host Vinny. Every week, we talk about some aspect of pop culture, and it's always a good time. We hope you tune in. But until next time, hey, let me know what you think of Prima. Leave a comment down below. And I've been Dan. You've been pretty awesome. I'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.